The long and winding road. Dun, 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 dun. So I was watching YouTube, and I've been watching a few of brassfacts videos, and I just watched one where he was comparing, I don't really know, categories of AR-15 that don't exist. Yeah. It was a 20-minute video on Recce versus SPR versus some other shit. These are my thoughts. I have a PDW. I have a Flex Raider. So I agree with you on that. Pretty much everything else, I think. Oh, I think you need to go buy a bolt gun. I don't know. Seems like there's a whole lot of what he's trying to achieve that his real answer is a bolt gun in a higher caliber. Like, I get the idea of an SPR and all that. I have my go-to rifle is an AR-15 with a scope on it. That is, it's not an SPR. I would call it a rifle. I don't know. It's a 16-inch AR-15 with a 2-7 scope on it. It's the rifle that I like to use. And the rifle next to it is an AR-15 with a red dot on it. And they're both set up basically identically, but the one with the scope has a 20-round mag in it, and the one with the red dot has jungle mags. You know. As such, that's kind of where I sit on Recce versus SPRs. Like, they're the same fucking thing. They're an AR-15 with a fucking scope on it. Okay, I guess I've never considered any of these categories. I mean, I've thought about SPR because I watch Nothing Fancy and I've seen Lone Survivor. But, you know, my SPR to some extent is a 300-yard rifle because that's the furthest I probably ever intend on shooting. Okay, and that's just some of like my own personal decisions. I've decided that like I'm probably going to be shooting inside of 400 yards, and that 5.56 is okay. I would really like to have a 308, but I just can't afford to feed one. And that's where, like, for me, a bolt action higher caliber rifle might be my answer too. It would be pretty dope to like have something that you were hand loading. I kind of want that. I don't know what I would get. Something big, bolt action, not single shot, but like probably a 3-shot magazine, firing like 375 H&H or something heavier. I think it would be cool to have, you know, an elephant gun. I have deer rifle on my list of things to acquire. I could very easily be convinced to make deer rifle a 375 H&H. I'm not really that big of a hunter. Like, I don't mind killing things, but it's not really me. I have my guns mostly for fucking self-defense, and if need be, to hunt. So, like, a hunting rifle in 375 H&H does me almost as much good as a 30-30, really. Except that 30-30 would be way more fun to shoot. That's kind of what I'm kind of coming back to, too, is I'm kind of a bitch, and really estrogen is making me more of one every day. Kind of a cute bitch these days. And, you know, maybe I need a 30-30 as a result of that. The only other rifle I have right now is a 22 takedown, and it's kind of a PDW too. Oh, it gets pretty small, and you can let like a little burst of 22s into somebody's face. I think that's dope. A 308 semi-automatic precision gun would be pretty slick. Pretty slick. I can't afford that, flat out. I couldn't afford to feed it if I did have one. That's half of why I decided to sell the FAL. Was I was needing money for other shit, and the FAL was a half-finished project that was going to cost probably another $1,000 before I was happy with it, and I could get a bunch of money for it. So I went and did that. Selling the FAL pretty much finished off one or two projects. Bought me groceries for a month. Bought me a sword. And paid for other shit. I don't know. I sold that FAL for quite a bit. That's, my thing with it is like, I had my fun with it. I got to play with an FAL again. I got to play with the exact one I wanted. And then I was sitting there going, do I really need to keep this? And the answer was no. Because basically I was going to sell the Flex Raider or the FAL. And to me, the FAL is probably a gun that in the future is going to be worth a lot of money. But so is the Flex Raider, and the Flex Raider shoots 9mm, and it's compact. So for the kind of shit hits the fan that I envision us going into, I think a Flex Raider's way, way, way more useful than a fucking FAL. And it was kind of one or the other. It didn't have to be, but there were a couple of things I wanted to buy that I needed money for that was more than, the money that I had. And I was going to make a sacrifice. I think I chose wisely. As far as, getting a pirate sword with some of that money, maybe that's a questionable choice, but it sure looks cool next to my samurai armor and shield and shit. That's kind of where I'm at with a lot of this is like, I'm building kind of my weapons to survive in the post-apocalyptic nuclear wasteland. Because I think that's what we're probably going to have to do. And as such, I'm thinking some sort of single shot might be the way I'm going to go for long range. I need to build the ultimate 408 shy tack or something. I don't know. That's awful big. Maybe a 6.5 Creedmoor single shot. Some kind. Be pretty dope. Think of the rifle in what was that movie called? The Bourne Legacy with Jeremy Renner. He has a bolt action single shot kind of set up in that thing. It's like a takedown rifle. That's the kind of thing that I'm thinking I could use something like that. I think as far as a long range engaging tool, a semi-automatic one has its benefits, don't get me wrong. But as far as weight, portability, compactness, cost, and everything else goes, I see a bolt gun as being pretty much the thing I'd want to have. At least for that particular kind of thing. Go get a Remington 700. A Remington 700 with a decent scope on it in a bag with an AR-15, and you own everything pretty much. And that's a setup you can haul around, especially if you go light on the AR and you go light on your scope on that 700, and you maybe even go with a light barrel on the 700. These are some choices that can be made that will, get you a better hunting setup. And this is one of the things I think people need to get is you out in the wasteland or whatever as a sniper. Are you a sniper like the Shooter movie with Mark Wahlberg, or are you a sniper like Vasily Zaitsev and fucking, Stalingrad? That's what you probably ought to figure out. Because, like, I think the Vasily Zaitsev sniper is a lot more likely. And, whether that's shooting at game or shooting at whatever, like, my shit is built with that kind of warfare in mind rather than, oh, we're going to be on the open steppes of Asia and shooting 1,000 yards. It seems much more realistic to me. The PDW thing, he did a whole video, brass facts we're talking about again, um, on PDWs. I agree with wholeheartedly. Um, if you're going to go past a certain size, the only thing you can do is go pistol caliber. Okay, and that size is like an 11.5 inch 5.56 AR, or if you're going to go 300 blackout, there's other choices, Sig Rattler and shit like that. But generally speaking, the Flux Raider I have is like a fucking Scorpion, like a VZ61 Scorpion, the old school submachine gun. It's tiny. It's very, very tiny. And yes, it's semi-auto, but like that gun doesn't hold that many bullets. And in a modern conflict, 9mm is not going to get the job done with a chest shot. It's just not. So that's a headshot machine, and it needs to be semi-auto. That's how I view it anyway. Like, I've gotten a lot of shit from a lot of people about that. When I got it, I had friends that were into shooting and whatever, and one of them was just saying that it's not my kind of a gun. And my thing with that gun is I don't ever really intend to shoot that gun much. It's there if I need such a weapon, because I think such a thing is useful. But mostly what it is to sit on my side and be a secondary weapon that I could hand to a chick and be like, sit down, shut up, and shoot anything that's not me. Okay? While I still had my, pistol and rifle. It's a submachine gun that I can carry in addition to a lightweight AR-15. That's what I like about it. And honestly, if you're handing a gun to a chick like that, semi-auto is good. Into the world, semi-auto is good in general because you don't have much ammunition. This is, one of the things I kind of get back to is basically there's not a situation that I can foresee where, like, I would need full auto, really, want full auto, or legally be able to use it. So it really is kind of irrelevant. That's not, oh, we shouldn't have machine guns. It doesn't matter. Not to me. I work the trigger pretty fast. I've shot a lot of machine guns. I think it's bullshit that we can't own them legally. If I could, all of my ARs would have selector switches that went to full auto, and my PDW would too. Just because, fuck them. However, with all that being said, they made them 1% less effective or something. Get over it. And the thing they took off is something that really you don't have the ammo to use. So, other choices that he was talking about. He really likes a lot bigger scopes than I would ever use. He uses the kind of scopes I would put on a 308 on a 5.56. I think that's pretty ridiculous. And that's a range of engagement kind of thing. And I think basically if you're carrying one rifle for everything, which is kind of my goal, you're packing an awful lot of scope all the time. I have two scopes for my go-to AR-15. I have a Hollow Sun Red Dot, and I have a Weaver 2-7 on a QD mount. Currently, the Weaver 2 to 7 is on it, and the red dot is actually on the backup gun. And I like it that way. On my primary gun, most of the time, I need a scope. And when I don't need a scope, I can take that off and pop up iron sights and have a really trim gun. That, like, is it less effective than a red dot? Yeah, but it's not by a whole lot. Especially inside of a house or something like that. You pop it to the big aperture and you just put your sight picture on the guy's torso and start pulling the fucking trigger. You'll figure it out. Rifles get really easy to use at close range. That's the thing nobody tells you. Like, yeah, do you need to hit somebody in the head or the heart or whatever? Yeah. But also, you can just vaguely point it in their direction and hose it with 5.56. That is an effective tactic. It does work. I can't say I'd recommend it for your house or the neighbors or pretty much anything else, but it does work. And that's the kind of thing that you need to know that you're probably going to do in combat, especially if you end up carrying machine guns. Like, that happens. And you can go, oh, I won't do that because I'm blah, 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 whatever. Whatever. You're no exception. No one is. Who hasn't wasted an entire mag on something that you thought was a Viet Cong, but was actually like a baby panda? It happens. Sometimes you kill a panda. It's a Tropic Thunder joke. I recently watched the director's commentary of that, and you'll be happy to know that Robert Downey Jr. does not drop his accent, even in the DVD commentary. It's fucking great. Anyway, part of my reasoning behind carrying the Flux Raider is my other gun is a 1911. So it's heavy. The Flux Raider's heavy. If I trade one of those for the other, I barely notice. If I need something smaller and lighter than that, I have a car MK9. And that's kind of like where I'm living now. Is like either a 1911 will handle it, or it won't. And if it won't, then we have the fucking Flux Raider and the AR-15s. Okay, so, but the 1911 in my mind gives me at least a gun that doesn't look completely, totally, outside the realm of something someone should have. Because pretty much all the rest of my weapons, even the 1911 to some extent, they do give me away a little bit. And like in the end of the world, I think that is a legitimate concern. You don't want people knowing that you might have good shit. And if you're packing really, really good weapons, yeah, that's one of those things. And like, if you look at a lot of the stuff that I'm doing right now, I have a fucking like old school looking ish AR-15, a 1911, and a camouflage minivan. I don't have anything that's Navy SEAL looking, really. I have some shit that's 90s Navy SEAL looking because I think it's cool. And most of that is, I don't think I need the very best of the best of the best to survive. A. And B, even if I did, I wouldn't want everybody to know I had it. A guy I used to hang out with a lot, and I had debated a lot that Why would you prepare for anything other than a pair of night vision goggles and a suppressed 22? Let's go take it. There are people out there that think that way. And like some of my shit's made to look kind of hokey. Hokey religions and ancient weapons, kid. Uh, for example, my helmet looks kind of ridiculous right now, and it's going to get more ridiculous when it's a PVS 7 bolted to it. And you can criticize my choice of night vision or whatever, and my use of a red laser on a 1911, but that combo gives me an edge at night that most people will never have. I don't know what else I'm going to get other than that, but right now I have a red laser on my 1911 because it has a Streamlight TLR6 on it. And I love that thing. Like, I had to make my own holster. I still love that thing. Someone needs to make a decent holster for a 1911 with this thing on it. Like, my 1911 is weird. It's it's got a what's it called? Barrel bushing compensator from Valkyrie Arms, and it's got World War II grips on it. It used to have a what is that thing called? FT Bullseye sight from Meprolite on top. I took that thing off because basically, like, I don't think that really works. It was okay, but like my 3-dot sights are way more accurate. I did like that sight though because it made that 1911 look like a Star Wars blaster, and that was my goal of this thing. Was like I was watching The Mandalorian and working on a 1911, and the 1911 that I built, I put World War II bakelite grips on it. I put that TLR6 on it. I put that comp on it, and it was a commander length slide. So it's still kind of shorter, even with the comp. Then it had that sight on it, and I bobbed the hammer, put an extended mag in it, and put a black extended flat trigger in it. Man, that thing, it looks like a Star Wars blaster. I love it. It looks like Han Solo carried 1911. And kind of as, my one pistol, that's where I ended up, was like I didn't want a World War II gun. I wanted a World War II gun brought into the 21st century. I wanted a blaster, man. And, that's how we ended up with that. Is that the best gun? No. It is, however, like almost it's a symbolic weapon at this point. Like, I think we're getting ready to fight World War III, and at the point that we're at now, the United States is going to end up hurting for personnel. And I don't know where that goes. I would love for my fucking Cromington 1911 to get used in fucking World War III. And that's really where I see a lot of these channels right now, like Brass Facts, or I was watching something out of Florida that was Pipe and Tomahawk or something like that. These guys are like running these near SOCOM rigs. Like, there's a lot of people doing this kind of shit. And like, some of them are more legit than others, and some of them are more nerds than others. But I love the whole community. And I just wanted to say that I think Brass Facts deserves to get some pussy. Because obviously he's not getting any. He's entirely too nerdy about his rifles. Reminds me of, well, me, to be honest. Actually reminds me a little bit of Jolly. You can tell exactly how much pussy a man is getting by how nice his rifles are. The nicer your rifles are, the less pussy that you're getting. That's my conclusion. I think that's pretty much accurate. Women are expensive. I know, I am. To be honest, it's probably better for you that at a young age you're focused on rifles and not on pussy. You have all sorts of old age with money from selling all these things to collectors in the future to use that on pussy. And I don't mean whores. I mean like women in general don't fuck guys that don't have money. That's kind of sad. It's kind of like it's sad that men in general don't fuck women that aren't good looking to them. But I guess life's hard all over. I'm like in a unique position because like I'm a lesbian that likes to fuck men. So I can really just do whatever I want. I'm a rare bird though. Like most girls that are like into dating other women aren't into also dating other men. I guess I don't know what's up with that. I think it's because most of them had like trauma or something that made them attracted to the other sex. It's kind of weird. Now, like this video's gone way off topic, but Brass Facts needs to get laid. That's the point of this video. I had a lot of other shit I talked about first, but like seriously, like either he and his little buddy that he does videos with are like just like 5 minutes away from Brokeback Mountain, or they really need to get laid. You're living out in the desert. You're probably not that far from Reno. I have a job offer in Reno to make more money than any of you could imagine to work on my knees. So I imagine you could go to such a place there and pay money and get sex. You need it. I still think it's hilarious that tell you what it was. The place in Reno offered $5,000 a week. It's a lot of goddamn money. Of course, the real question there is how many dicks are you having to suck for $5,000 a week? But does it really matter if you like sucking dicks? I guess I don't know. These are the questions that haunt me. One of those like, gee, what ifs? I could go be a hoe. Already kind of a hoe. That's the other thing. Is like, might as well own it. So brass facts, go start being a hoe. I free you. I'll see you guys later. Let your inner hoe out, brass facts.